I'd be interested in talking a little bit about like different ways to build this.
Buddy,
Yo, what's up?
dude, these cards all right. Soraka's actually nuts.
Yeah,
I think she's insane.
she's looking pretty good.
All right, so like you need to remember, Soraka synergizes with Croaker. Like that's the
Yeah,
crazy thing about her. She
yeah,
synergizes with good cards. She has
exactly.
really,
Yeah,
really big synergy with good cards.
I agree. I think that these new Bilgewater cards had a lot of potential, and Soraka really brings them out to the full extent. I really like Soraka Tom
Yeah,
a
Remember when I was
lot.
like, remember I was hyping up like Boxtopus plus Tavern Keeper?
mm.
Now just imagine that with Soraka. That's like fucking like 20 million times better.
I'm gonna give
Yeah,
my 2 cents on why I like Soraka Tom real quick. Well, there's a few reasons. One, I feel uh, Tom's best region to me or safest always felt like Targon because they have Bastion. If you put them in other regions, then give the big stats to dodge most things, but they can't dodge like hard remove like Vengeance or the Comet that like don't care about stats and just kill it. So Bastion's really good for that's one of many reasons. But I like Spring Guardian a lot. We saw yesterday that card that fully heals an ally for one, the 3/3 that gives the thing, right? Because
yeah,
with Bayou Brunch, you can use Bayou Brunch to hook up the stats, and then you can heal the stats, and then you fully heal it. And I think Soraka works well with that. Because at the same time, she works great with all the new Bilgewater cards that damage themselves. So it kind of just makes sense that Bilge Targon damaging yourself, then healing it looks great.
right.
All right. Let me give you the. All right, so this is coming hot from Nola Gold. I was in a talk with him the other day. This is actually the spiciest shit ever. So you run the landmark thing, the
Yeah,
like that 2 mana like landmark that heals everything for
yeah.
one,
Star
and
Spring.
you play Ember Maiden, and you just have like dealing pinging everything for one every single turn and getting like a bunch of heal pings. And he wasn't even aware that Soraka existed when he made that suggestion. Like you just
Interesting.
literally, it does not matter if your opponent has units on board. They can be playing control, and that combo will like draw you a card every turn if you protect it
Wait, how are you drawing every turn?
with Soraka.
Oh, you mean like just in terms of a turbo leveled Soraka? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Okay,
because
okay.
you're that's a Freljord deck, right?
Yeah, that would be like Targon Freljord.
Yeah, so like you could potentially like even play and treat in that deck since like Soraka could just be like a draw engine.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Soraka is like important enough for the deck where like she's like drawing you like a card every other turn, then yeah, you probably want to entreat for it.
Hmm.
Probably not even that bad of tempo. It's like a 3 mana 2/7.
I like Starspring a lot in terms of being viable. There's definitely some downsides and some upsides to the landmarks. They're expensive, then you can lose a lot of tempo, but Starspring's great. It only costs 2 mana, so that's like pretty low committal. If you
Mm-hmm.
are playing in Bilge or just other things, like just simple combat trades like Ember Maiden stuff, like Precipic just said, it can get a lot of value. I think a lot of the value in Starspring is going to be how good is it if you don't get the win con, just by healing allies each round, and that could add up, especially with combat trades and threaten a win con they have to deal with. So if they were to use like the cheapest landmark removal we have right now is Divergent Pass from yesterday, and that costs more than Starspring. So I like how cheap Starspring is. It's pretty
I
good.
also still like how various like high health challengers work with this thing. So like uh, stuff like the big
The 5/5,
challenger, well, I was thinking like the 4/5 challenger that
the
like
dragon.
with rage. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was thinking like Laurent Protege, even like Genevieve, like just like anything that like that you're gonna like be able to mark damage on it and use that as like a way of trading the board. And then if you start like then attacking with Soraka, healing Soraka up, drawing a card, killing their unit, that's like a value engine that just can run away with the game and make a lot of people really mad in a way that I'm going to enjoy.
at the end of the day, I mean the best thing about these new cards, like, from the competitive perspective, the best thing about them by far is that They're just in the best colors. It's just like we're in Targon and we're in Bilgewater. We have an excuse to be in both of the best colors in the game. We've never had that before.
I can't get out of Tom. Like when I see Soraka, I just see Tom Bilge because Tom Soraka because the cards that damage themselves are already pretty good, and then it's like perfectly synergized. Like it's clearly intended synergy. To me, it looks amazing.
All right, but Nick, think about starting turn 1, the 1-drop 2/2. Turn 2 Troll Chant when they attack with like literally anything out of their deck.
I do think Freyler's really good too.
They just fucking lose the game there. Like the game's over. It's like you have like a 1-mana 2/4 and you eat their dude for free.
I do think that synergy is amazing. I like that a lot. I also think it's cool. Anytime a card says draw on it, I think it's really enjoyable. I think people like satisfaction of drawing cards. So I don't know. Maybe it's just something that appeals to me a lot. So Soraka looks interesting to me. Happy she heals allies to the Nexus because I think healing allies is actually kind of cool, especially with all the build cards. But yeah, Soraka's pretty awesome.
Wait, did you just say that healing? Guys, I think Nick just said healing is cool.
Allies.
No. We can quote this. Nick said healing is cool.
I definitely said on allies.
I'm pretty sure that we can just like quote this now. Nick thinks healing's cool.
Is that true?
So yeah. What that means, guys, is that you should play more Withering Wails in your deck, and you should play more Grasp of the Undying. Cavern Keeper's pretty good too.
I might have misspoke.
All right, what do you guys think about this Astral Projection card? Am I underrating this one?
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
It definitely makes a unit completely fucking unkillable outside of like Vengeance.
I think it could be cool. I feel it's decently expensive. Honestly, I see it best in Tahm Kench. Again, I really see the synergies with these in Tahm Kench, and I think a lot of them were intended.
Yeah, of course.
Do you not think that this card can work with like Vi at all? Maybe like Radiant Guardian or something?
Vi would be great, yeah.
Yeah, right?
I think Vi would be great. Mm-hmm. Question is that like a winning strategy?
That's already a deck, right? Isn't that already a deck?
That's true.
Like,
Targon Vi, yeah.
Yeah, Targon Vi's already a deck.
I feel like the biggest problem with stuff like that has always been the ability for it to get like controlled out, like either hard removal or stuns that we'll see in like top competitive decks. It feels like it'll be an extra like accentuator for the pre-existing deck, but I don't know if it'll like elevate it to a new tier.
I think Bastion's gonna be so key to all these decks.
Yeah.
The other thing
the other thing I'm thinking about here is like in a Dragon's deck, Astral Protection could be pretty good because like you're already like just like playing like just a mega mid-range beef deck, and then if you like land an Astral Protection on like any of your creatures, then like you just win like a lot of mid-range bears because like they just can't ever kill your creature. Like you went for a Concerted Strike and then you Astral Protection them, and then like they're just like, well, that's a unit that I cannot ever deal with.
It gets me really excited for Shyvana. I really hope we get her because if we get Tom, Soraka, and Shyvana, now that I've seen Tom and Soraka, there's actually a lot of different decks you can make with those. So like Soraka, you can do Soraka Tom. You don't even have to put them with each other, but as you said, Astral Protection, Dragons, maybe Soraka Dragons, like Soraka Shyvana could be a thing. There's just so many different ways to play it with the new cards. So I hope it's Dragons because I think Dragons are cool. Call me an edgelord, but.
All right, Swim. Let me paint you a picture. All right, so when I'm painting this picture, you need to start off. Pretend that Hush is not a card in the game. like we just start there, okay?
All right. So, sounds good.
All right. So we start off and we go like a Bilgewater 1-drop.
Okay.
Then we have like a monument, like the landmark thing on 2. We have the like a 3-drop like Boxipus or something like that, and then like we Stargazer or something like that. Every single turn, our dudes are just constantly elusive. Like we've made it so that our stats are actually elusive stats. Now, what about this? We have Ember Maiden with Stargazer. We damage all of our units, and then we just that combo doesn't work. Okay.
Well, it's like you have a mentor on board, and it dies to the Ember Maiden.
I also, someone pointed out in chat that like I keep forgetting how the monument works, and I think it's like end of turn or something, so it doesn't work. There's a bigger problem there.
I'm putting it on you to make a really cool box push deck. I see like you like it a lot. I mean, I'm excited for. I'm reiterating, but I don't know, dude. There's so much cool synergies that are going on with Soraka and Tom. I also think I think highly of the self-damaging units as well as you. The Kadra box push, really awesome. So Swim, have you thought of any like lounging lizards, Stargazer? You know, maybe not together type things. I just came in, so I'm sure you went over Stargazer.
Yeah, I don't actually know if I. The thing about a card like Stargazer is it's you don't want to build it in an elusive deck. It's just like it's a card that works on its own and can give you a different win condition in a non-elusive deck. It's like Fey Guide. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's very similar to Fey Guide. But the thing is, I think Stargazer is a lot more powerful than Fey Guide though, because if you hit like the heal off on multiple units, then it's as if you've basically said my board has elusive now.
Yeah.
Go. Like for example, here's a good one: Citrus Courier with Stargazer. Like you go like warning shot, like Citrus Courier. All of my things are healed up. Like alpha you for 1 million. That could be a thing.
It's like a combo piece for like a full board heal. How many full board heals actually are there though?
So Citrus Courier is probably the biggest one.
More likely.
Cool, yeah. Stargazer can let you go wide elusives instead of all in, so if they have Hush, you don't get screwed. They can push for a lot of damage. So I kind of like the full board thing.
Someone mentioned Sap Magic. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
They're right. I mean, they're right.
The best thing for Stargazer, in my mind, is to combine it with Mentor, or something that just gets you like 3 or 4 gems, and then
that's really good.
One of the cards that pings your entire board for 1. So I'm thinking,
Ember Maiden.
What was that?
Oh wait, you could literally run Avalanche, right?
Yeah. Avalanche
you just go like, Avalanche is actually like that's just a good card, and then like you just like Avalanche your mid-range board, and then you just like gem each unit once, and then you just lethal them.
Yeah.
Like that's just a good combo, right?
I'm thinking about Crimson Awakener, really.
Dude, I played Vlad yesterday. It was awesome.
Yeah, Vlad's great, right, Nick?
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Wait, Vlad doesn't work how you want it to work with this, right? Not even slightly.
No, Vlad doesn't, but Crimson Awakener does.
True.
It's like you have a Mentor and a Stargazer on board, right? You Crimson Awakener, it kills your Mentor, it damages everything, and then you use 3 gems and just kill them.
All right, Sim, let me tell you something really sad, like really, like kind of like funnily sad.
Okay, hit me.
You could put in 0 work, do like actual nothing, have Vlad leveled on turn 5, no effort, just like curving out because of the Bilgewater units, and it's still bad.
Okay. It's decent. It's okay, you know.
It's still worse than
what does Vlad do again? I actually forget.
I played Vlad yesterday, and I thought his level was 5 and it was 6, and I was like, man, why is it so hard to level up? Constantly was at 5 out of 6, and I was like, what's going on?
One thing that is interesting is that a lot of these like self-damage decks also level Swain on her really easily.
Yeah.
Really easily.
Something small I want to note is just about Star Springs and Divergent Path is that the Soraka decks do have a cool perk if Star Springs good in your deck that you can run Divergent Path without it being linear, is like only to destroy things, but having like a searchable landmark that's cheap, like Star Springs, I think that the ability to main deck Divergent Path will pretty powerful in the right meta, and other decks might not have that luxury. So I don't know. I really like Star Spring.
I do too. I think Star Spring. The thing that you need to not get caught up on Star Spring is that the alternate win con part of the tech card is a nice bonus.
Yeah.
But it's not the primary aspect of the card unless you're doing a Braum deck.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a Braum deck, then it can be the primary part of the card. But realistically, it's a card that if it gives you like 6 HP of value, then it's already nuts. Yeah. Like that's like you, because like I think about how big of a tempo swing it is when you use like guiding touch on a unit, right? How insane that is sometimes. Now imagine that like you did that on like you cast like 3 guiding touches.
Also, it's like they have to get rid of it. Like, let's say you're like playing a mid game versus, let's say you're playing against a mid range deck, and you're having a lot of different combat trades, and you're playing these Bilgewater units that damage themselves and keep healing all the time. You will get more value than 2 mana after all the heals, which is amazing. Yeah, throwing the win con is the bonus, but then it's just so cheap, and they have to deal with it. Like, let's say they like, oh, well, we need to kill that spring because it's just going to infinitely keep healing this guy. If they even use Divergent Path, which is the cheapest landmark removal we know right now, it still costed more than the Star Springs after it got value.
And the other thing that's insane about Star Spring is that as a control deck, if you play a Boxtopus on turn 8 and you have a Star Spring on play and it has like 18 marked on it, like you're fucking spooked. Like that's crazy. It made it so that your turn 8 Boxtopus is a scary card for a control deck.
Yeah.
The ability to swing value there in terms of your cards in your deck is like so insane.
I also think it's gonna be hilarious. The decks that don't like I say are in Targon and they're in Bilgewater, and they want to use Sunken Cost or whatever, or Crumble, the other cards that kill the landmarks on Star Springs because it's threatening a win con. They use like 8 mana spell to kill a 2 mana Star Springs that don't lose.
I also just like love the fact that you just start like gemming up like everything. I also think Starlit Seer might actually be good in like with a Soraka deck, right? Because like if you get like 1 buff on Soraka, like if you get 1 Starlit Seer buff on her, she just destroys, right?
Yeah, I like Starlit Seer a lot right now. I would definitely run that kind of deck.
And Starlit Seer works really well with like heal ally to full, right? Because a lot of the cards don't have regen and they inherently have way too many stats for their cost, which means that you really want these like heal full effects on them. And it also helps because the 3-drop creates a spell. It's a unit that creates a spell, which is a lot of what Starlit Seer really likes.
A lot of cool combinations between you have Bilgewater Targon, but you also have Freyler, which is good with Bilgewater. Freyler also sounds good with this Targon thing too. And then there's Vladimir. So you have like between Noxus, Freyler, Bilgewater, and Targon.
Wait, is there Vladimir?
Let's just say there's Vladimir.
Nick.
Okay, we'll say. Can we say there's Swain? I'm like pretty down to say there's Swain.
Okay, Noxus.
Okay,
so
sure.
Between Noxus, Freyler, Bilgewater, and Targon, you can mix like all of those between either Noxus Bilge or Noxus Targon or Targon Bilge, Targon Freyler, and there's a lot of different combinations we can make here. I think that's pretty cool because it won't be as clear as like the set synergy. Like I personally like the Bilgewater Targon with Tom Kench, but I'm pretty excited to see all kinds of combinations of these cards and different ways to play them.
Ooh, someone mentioned Tarkaz.
If you give Tarkaz regen with like Augur, that's healing like a lot, right?
No. I'm mentioning it because of the fact that it pings your whole board, right?
Stargazer.
See.
It's not even just Stargazer, it's also just the fact that like it means that you're self-damaging, which means that like you get to draw a lot of cards with Soraka.
Yeah. Tarkaz is nuts with Soraka. That's a really big one.
He's amazing stats. Like obviously that's his thing, but like now that these 5/8 for 5 has a bonus, then that's actually kind of a huge deal.
And the other thing about Tarkaz is that it's actually pretty good into Lee Sin. I just want to point that out. Like the fact that it makes it so that Lee Sin's barrier is just not really in effect. Like they have to like bastion their Lee Sin to stop it from getting pinged off. Like that's really good for you.
Decks also threaten a lot of different win conditions. I mean, we have, if you do play Stargazer, you have Stargazer, elusive win condition, you have just regular mid-range win condition, you have Star Springs. If you play Tom, there's like unkillable Tom.
Yeah, the champion out value is a win condition.
You can even play Riptide Rex too, right? Like that's just
I mean, it's
that's just a win condition. Yeah.
So yeah, there's like all these win conditions. Yeah, as Swim just said, like just value off of like getting these amazing trades and healing, drawing the cards off Soraka. I mean, you have multiple things your opponent has to deal with. They have access to Spell Shield. They have access to the cheapest landmark removal. I think that they're in a pretty good spot.
In my head, I'm imagining Soraka as like it feels very similar to like Shen to me, but like it's like requires a little more build around than Shen, but when it works, it's way higher value. If that makes, that's like kind of where my head is at for where Soraka is at in power level.
I think I agree with that. That's a fair comparison.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, really cool card.
Like
I think
Guardian from yesterday.
The one thing about this, like, okay, do we know when their next balance patch is? Is it gonna be like aligned with this release or a little bit after?
I assume that they're gonna change something about Lee, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Like, they must change it.
They mentioned that they were nerfing Hush as well, or I guess reworking is a better way of putting it. But the
they're changing Hush to only hitting one thing. Stargazer actually might be a thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hush is still changing to 2 mana, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
but it doesn't. But it doesn't have Echo.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually like that again. Except Tom here. It's cool if it costs 1 less, just in case Tom was already going to die and he detained opponents at things. You can just hush him like during the combat, and then they lose other cards.
Mm-hmm.
He has like all the mate.
Also, Hush is not good against Tom Catchers. Like if you Bayou Brunch on like Tom Catch or something like that, and he's like has like plus stats so that you can like eat more of their things. What will happen is that like if they hush your Tom Catch, then they just lose all their creatures. Like
No, it's awesome.
yeah. The only thing that holds Tom Kench back, in my opinion, is the fact that the eat costs 2 mana. That's literally the only thing that holds him back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little bit too expensive.
Yeah.
But like, if the meta's slow enough where like that effect is good, then he's really strong.
I'm so excited to see who the final like puzzle piece we're getting for this meta is tomorrow. I mean,
Shyvana.
I want it to be Shyvana, but they throw me for a whirl a few times. I mean, I didn't expect Trundle the first expansion. I definitely didn't expect Tom Kench this one. I thought it was going to be Soraka, Shyvana, Riven.
So
I guess
we know for sure there's a third one here, and then there's 3 more in the next set, and we know what the 4 are total, which is Shyvana, Victor, Riven, and Zoe, right? And Shyvana is the only one that they've kind of like printed support cards for in the base set, along with Soraka. It really has to be Shyvana. Like, there's no way they're just gonna slap in Victor, right?
A lot of chat is saying Victor. I think they know something we don't know.
Oh yeah, they had the Heimer landmark. Right?
They do have the Heimer landmark. It's true.
All right. So Nick, I remember that you were telling me about like Tom Kench. You said that like you thought it would be Nab. I really can I really can feel like how disappointed you were that like it wasn't Nab. Like I really like Chad doesn't know this, but like Nick's favorite mechanic in the game is definitely Nab, and like the only one that he likes more is actually Living Legends. He thinks that both of those are like 2 of the best cards in the game.
This is propaganda. I just thought because he's like like I don't know, he's like a demon love like bad deals, and he was gonna like Nab. All right,
this is how much he loves Nab, right? Is that like he's willing to just like pinhole Tom Kench into being a Nab champion because of how much
he's trolling me. Don't listen to him. I'm being trolled. Just get your laughs in. But no, Nab is not. I'm not pro Nab. It let us cause for some fun stuff, but he's trolling me. Chat, you gotta trust me on this one. I like him so much more now. That eating things is cool. I really like the current Tom. I'm just excited for also the new champion because Shyvana.
That's how I know you're from America. Is that you just think eating things is cool?
Getting roasted right now. What the hell? I'm excited for Yasuo Riven. I'm excited for Shyvana decks. Victor. I think Victor looks cool. I'd be down to just make pure Victor. And honestly, whatever champ we get tomorrow is going to be amazing for me. So I'm actually pretty excited for this expansion.
I agree. I think that there's definitely one thing they're going to have to address, which is that, I mean, they're printing a lot of really good Bilgewater and Targon cards, and we're already in a meta state where it is inadvisable to run a deck that doesn't run either Bilgewater or Targon. So they're definitely, and they were probably already going to do this anyway, but they're definitely probably going to have to tweak a couple of the pre-existing Bilgewater or Targon cards, right? That seems like it's gonna, like I said, they probably would have done that even without this expansion, just because of the current state of the meta. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you could see a couple of those cards being tweaked, which cards would they be?
Please, please, Riptide Rex, please. Like I've been playing a lot recently, and I feel that the tier 1 decks are a lot farther ahead than the tier 2, tier 3 decks like in the past. Like, not saying, I guess power creep's not really the word I'm looking for. It's more so like they're very polarizing in matchups, whereas like Lee Sin and War Mothers are like very good at what they do. So if you try and make your own homebrew deck or like a regular deck, it can't really beat all the strategies. Like, not getting destroyed by either Lee Sin or War Mothers or like Riptide Rex decks. There'll be at least one of them, if that makes sense, right? So the top tier decks, I think, are like really, really, really powerful compared to the previous top tier decks, at least compared to the rest of the meta. But yeah, I would say Riptide Rex would be great, because there are so many games where like you're playing a normal deck and like you're actually like in a good spot, and then you get Riptide Rex. Block could be changed, not that it's like a bilge card. Lee Sin definitely. I think Trundle's very powerful also.
All right, I think it's a lot simpler. I think Make It Rain should not be random and should just target 2 units. Two like it target like 2 like it can target like Nexus in a unit. It can target like 2 units, and like or like change it somehow. Just like the 2 mana like decide the game thing is really just great gameplay right there. That's real fun.
Do you think it would be weaker if it was a target 2 units?
I don't give a shit. I just want it changed. I
Okay.
like it actively makes me not enjoy the game, because it just feels like people play it and the game's decided on like turn 2 through 4.
Yeah.
Like, if it hits well, then you auto lose the game, especially when it's extra swingy, when people include kegs in the mix. Because like if you invest a keg into your Make It Rain on like and it like whiffs, then you're fucked.
To be honest,
Like-
the kegs are actually like really good. Well, by that I mean Make It Rain with the kegs are really good. But wait, Swim,
Yeah.
did you have any cards in mind particularly?
Well, they already said they're nerfing Hush, and I mean, you guys know that's one for me. I don't know. I mean, honestly, when it comes to nerfs, they can do a lot of different things. It's just it's important to make sure the nerfs end up effective, right? Because like, for example, when we look at what they did in the last balance patch, they nerfed Hush, but they did so in a way that didn't really change much, and while simultaneously kind of buffing Targon in other ways. So it still ends up being that, like, okay, let me actually pull up the balance patch notes. What is it?
1.11.
I would also buff other things. I think that a lot of decks have a good identity right now. Like, I think that other decks just need to be buffed so that like they meet that level of identity.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like Vladimir gets literally like 10 support cards that like that should make him work, and he's still not that good. It's fucking embarrassing.
I definitely would like to see a lot of buffs across the field for sure. I think they've like I would like them to be a little bit heavier in buffs than they have in the past. It's been kind of weird because when it's come to buffs, they've been extremely light across the board. Like most of the buffs to like the weak cards we've seen, you can look at the buff and be like, well, it's not really going to make it even close to competitive. And then you look at the last patch where they buffed Lee Sin by like -2 mana, and that's like definitely a step too far, I would say.
Randomly like over buff things like Braum, like, and when they can buff things and it's good, but like I'm with you when like they shouldn't be double buffing things.
Right, exactly.
When they double buff, they get way too good.
Yeah, there is a sweet spot. There is a middle ground.
I think that if you asked me what the ideal power level for a deck to be in the game right now, I'd say that it would be like Swain TF. I think that that's where I want like the power level of all the decks to be around, is around the power level of that deck, where like it's really powerful, it does really good things, but like it never feels like it's just like a hyper auto win deck in any matchup.
Yeah. I think
I like how it's working.
I think I'm fine with that. Yeah, it's like it's a lot more counterable as well. Okay, so what I was gonna say about like the patch notes is like when you look at the last patch, and I have it pulled up here, basically the nerfs ended up being pretty ineffective just because of kind of like how the field was at the time. Like, they nerf Hush by making it +1 mana, but the +1 mana, obviously, I mean, it doesn't matter that much. Like, you're still double hushing on 7, stuff like that. But also, at the same time, they make Bastion a really good card. And the funny thing is, Bastion basically counters every form of removal or like interaction, except a couple of things like Hush, right? Which is really, really funny because like to get through Bastion, you need that. Exactly. That's where I was getting to.
Like, I think Hush is more mandatory in text because of that Bastion, not less.
Yeah, but also Hush's ability to impact the meta scales with Targon's prevalence and not Hush's power level, right? And by, bringing up Bastion, it kind of ended up making Hush not necessarily a worse problem, but I would say like kind of the same level. And when you look at the Petty Officer nerf, this one's also funny, because Petty Officer is a Bilgewater card that's really good, and they're trying to nerf Bilgewater, but most of the time, the only region that cares that Petty Officer has 1 health now is Bilgewater, because
do you agree that the change should have been that he should have been a 2/2?
I don't know. That's hard to say. But it feels like it can't really be enough on its own, right? Like, because it's mostly just Bilgewater that can actually take advantage of the fact that this new Bilgewater card is now weaker, right? Which is pretty funny. Shadow Isles helps. It does help Shadow Isles a little bit, but we're not really seeing that in the meta too much, right? It's like Shadow Isles is really limited by a lot of things right now. I mean, War Mothers, it's is kind of the one deck that you see sometimes that uses it.
I personally feel that the top tier decks should get slight nerfs, and they're a bit too polarizing in what they do. Like, sure. I think Ramp is a bit too good. I think Lee Sin's a bit too good, and Riptide Rex decks. The reason I say this is that, it hurts a lot of creativity and innovation in the game if you try to make like combinations of different cards or different decks, and they always lose to one of the 3.
Yeah,
they always lose to either they cannot beat Ramp, they cannot beat the Lee Sin OTK, or they play Riptide Rex and you can't beat that. It's one of the 3. I'm not saying that like power level of those 3 strategies in the matchups they win is insanely strong. I'm not saying they're like good against the entire field. Like, Ramp's not good against everything. Bilgewater knocks to beat everything, and Lee Sin OTK doesn't beat everything. But if you try to make a custom deck, you're definitely guaranteed to have a hard losing matchup to one of those 3 strategies. And I would like them to be more on even playing field. That way, there could be more innovation and creativity in the meta with people making their own decks and not just getting like hard countered. So it's like a little bit less rock paper scissors right now.
Yeah, I 100% agree for sure. I think
polarizing things aren't as polarizing. That's all.
I think I would say the biggest problem in Bilgewater, I would say that bigger than Rex, at least from my perspective, is the just like access to a ridiculous amount of like AoE pings, in terms of value. Like the fact that all the good ones are running like 3 Make It Rain. I like Twisted Fate and that style of deck, although some people run like the MFGP, but MF is just more 1 damage pings. Like just being able to abuse any unit that has 1 health, it's very oppressive towards anything that just like instantly dies to that, because those cards just hard counter that extremely hard while still being very good on their own. And it also hurts the ability for other like aggro style decks to be a thing, because like when you have these aggro cards but one of them is just jamming in a bunch of these 1 damage pings, then the Bilgewater one's gonna win, right? Like Make It Rain and Misfortune and TF all just smash aggro really, really, really hard.
So the thing that I just want to point out is that I think that the late game win conditions of a lot of these decks matter way less than the early game packages that these decks have. And I think that a lot of times the thing that's oppressive about the deck is not Riptide Rex, but the fact that they like kegged TF'd you on like turn 4, or like they hit like a godlike Make It Rain on like turn 2 or 3. Like or that like they went warning shot into Jagged Butcher on turn 1.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing that's oppressive. It's
Completely
not
agree.
actually the fact that like they rexed you, because guess what? There's a lot of finishers. Well, actually, there aren't actually a lot of finishers in this game, but that's a different problem. But it's just that they were able to get to turn 8 because you were not able to execute a meaningful game plan because these cards are too strong.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think it's Rex. It's just me. Because I don't know. I personally feel, I guess I already said my point. Jason, Ramp, and Rex are polarizing. I mean, I play mini games where I can fight through Make It Rains and the Flocks and stuff, and then Twisted Fates and they Rex, and I like lose like 4 of my cards. But I see what you're saying. At the same time, no, I just don't want decks to get too solitary. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Ramp's cool. Lee Sin's cool. I think Goldwater's cool too. But when you have decks that are really focused on what they're doing themselves, but not as concerned with like interacting with their opponent and just kind of implement their own thing, it's kind of hard to make new decks that can beat all these different strategies.
All right, the thing is, 8 mana cards should win the game. I just like want to put that out there. Like 7, 8 mana, 9 mana cards. Like, if you get to this mana cost and you're casting cards that are like cost that much, they should win the game. Because if the cards like that don't win the game, then games just don't end.
And also,
like,
it's
not entirely with that.
I think people do underrate how conditional Rex is. Like having a Plunder trigger, like you can open attack into Rex, but you're losing a ton of value by doing that, depending on whether you need it to open attack or not. You are forced to run like Yordle Grifter or Warning Shot to get it off reliably. It actually is like somewhat of a cost. But I agree with Precipic. It's a good card, but it is important that it is a good card.
Someone mentioned this in chat, like the fact that like Rasa exists in its current state and Rex like exists in its current state is like a joke. But that doesn't mean that, like, Rex should get nerfed. That means that Rasa should get buffed. Like, Rasa should cost 7.
I'm a bit afraid of this. I guess maybe I have like PTSD. A game I love, Shadowverse, is another card game, and they designed that card game to be 50-minute or less games. People could play them on their commute, and they basically it's a different card game where they intentionally made the finishers like actually finish the game like on 8 like every time, and that's what kind of was like the downfall of like the competitive scene, was that the finishers were too strong. So there's a middle ground. They could definitely be a bit stronger. I think in this game, since you're able
there's like 4 finishers in this game.
There's no summoning sickness, so like it's easier to finish games like and threaten people. And I mean I agree that they should be stronger, but
wait, there's like literally like 4 finishers in the game.
Yeah, but you can win most by playing. Normally.
I guess I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure that like a lot of times like games just like I've watched games like Swim where he literally like it almost went down to decking because now the player actually had a real win condition.
Yeah, but I think people already. I mean, again, it's just different opinions, but some people already think, oh, having 10 mana, I win the game with like Ace or Karma. Isn't people don't like that? And then if it was at 8 mana, that'd be like even earlier.
I mean, Rex is a little different from I win the game.
Yeah, Rex is not quite.
I don't want it to be. I don't want 8 costs to be I win the game.
I think that Rex got nerfed a little bit with the Yordle Grifter Allegiance. Actually, quite a bit. The Yordle Grifter Allegiance was a really, really big deal for Rex. I actually think Rex is at a perfectly fine power level right now. I think the biggest thing is, like, part of what Precipic is saying is that when Bilgewater loses some of the tools that allow them to reliably and effectively control the early game, like these tempo tools, like these control tools like Make It Rain and Twisted Fate, then suddenly Rex decks have an additional weakness of getting gone under, right? Like, you don't have the luxury of just being able to own the entire game until turn 8.
The TF Swain deck literally jam in, some of them literally jam in like 5 8-drops in their deck. That's only acceptable because their early game package is that like, disgusting. 5 8-drops. That's like standard, and it's crazy. Like that should.
I agree with you guys. Yeah, the early game lets them reliably get to turn 8 without taking like being significantly pressured around the mid game to where like they can't just.
Their deck literally doesn't run healing. They're a deck with 5 8-drops that oftentimes is on a beatdown plan.
Yeah, yes.
That's like that's so stupid.
Yeah, I agree. It's the early game. I mean, I think that Flock and Make It Rain have a lot to do with it. It's pretty hard to put on a lot of pressure when they're using 1 mana kill your cards, and like with the kegs and the Make It Rain just kill like 3 your cards for 2 mana or 2 your cards for 2 mana or whatever. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that this could actually be perfectly balanced the way that you've brought up the points, pretty good points. They just have super strong early game that makes it they're able to reliably get there. And it shows in deck building, as you said, because they run so many 8-drops.
I mean, like, I think Make It Rain legitimately could be pushed to like 3 mana, and I think it would still see play. Like,
what do you think if they made it slow? Just as a random idea. I'm not even suggesting it as a good idea, but
I would think that would remove a lot of the like complexity of the card.
I think I agree with that. The only question is if 3 mana would kill it, because it might.
I mean, it still has the same synergy with kegs, right? Like, it still would be like disgusting with like a Dreadway deckhand.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird card because like I think at some point they would change Make It Rain. It's hard to balance.
I think
it's hard to balance because every little thing you do could change it like so significantly. But I mean, Make It Rain is so generic, and
it's such a good open attack punisher. I just can't imagine it like not being played at 3.
The problem is it's just too flexible. Like the fact that it's like Precipic was saying, when you have this like beatdown deck that's running 5 8-drops, that's ridiculous. Well, when you have this aggro game plan that's jam fisting what should be like this should be more of a control card, right? It's just it pings the board, but aggro auto includes it as a 3 of. Like when you look at the opening, like my opponent plays Fleet Feather Tracker into Young Witch, I press a button and the game is over. That shouldn't happen on turn 2. The game is literally over on turn 2.
The fact that Young Witch is basically unplayable in this game is actually such a joke. It's so stupid.
It's funny because like Fleet Tracker Young Witch is like their high roll, and then it just loses to Make It Rain.
And you've got cards like Jaw Hunter, which is like supposed to be a really good card in Deep, and it's like even as a really good card, it's still just you can't run because everyone's running this critical mass of 1 damage pings. And Bilgewater's identity is supposed to be involved in 1 damage pings, and we don't want to take that away, but it's just it's gone a little bit past the tipping point, right? That's all.
I feel that. Well, I'm excited to see what the new cards bring. I mean, maybe some of these new cards could help out a lot. I think that Sway and Anticipate probably would be extremely popular. I mean, again, it's amazing. But I think that Noxian Guillotine and Ravenous Flock are going to be even better. Those are Noxus tools, but it's not Bilgewater is the core of the deck. They just run Noxus for those cards.
Yes.
How many like Bilgewater decks like have I like shown to you that I built where like I've had it like built for a while and that you're just like, yeah, but like you should probably include Make It Rain in this deck, and I'm just like, but that card has literally no synergy with the concept that my deck is trying to do, and it's like, yeah, and you're like, yeah, but it's Make It Rain. It's just like, all right, fine.
Yeah, and that's
you got me.
It's definitely, I would say it is probably the #1 problem. I also want to point out, if we're talking about Noxus a little bit, I know probably a lot of people, because Bilge Nox is like the deck, and it's kind of like one of the most.
I can speak for you, Swim, if you want. You can save your breath. Buff Katarina, we're all thinking it. I'm with you. I'm with you. Out and clear, we heard you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of people are of the take that Ravenous Flock should get nerfed, and I think I'll disagree with that. And I'm open to arguments for sure, but I do think Bilgewater is a bit more of the problem than Noxus, and not even all versions of Bilge Nox are even running Flock. Like MFGP doesn't run it.
I mean, the other thing that I know is the case is that it's just the thing that we've been saying for a while, which is that like a lot of regions other than like these like top 2 regions just don't have a critical mass of good cards. Mm-hmm. They just don't. Like, why would I ever want to run a Noxus deck outside of like access to like 5 cards?
Exactly.
Like, they're just like 5 cards I want in that region.
It feels funny because Noxus doesn't even really have that many good cards, and the good ones aren't even used like for Noxus decks. They're just used for Bilge decks.
Exactly.
Like
Noxus definitely isn't the problem.
Noxus can't even really utilize like Flock as well as Bilgewater decks by any means. Like they have Swain obviously, but those are just take those cards and put them in a bilge deck. You can't really make like a Noxus oriented deck around those cards as much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like it's same as like true of like freaking Ionia, right? Like the Ionia Targon deck is basically mono Targon splash Lee Sin.
Yeah, exactly. It's like other regions use these like Noxus and Ionia's cards better than their own regions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like realistically, there's 5 regions in the game right now.
I think
Like,
5 is
honestly, maybe even
generous.
4.
I
Maybe
was gonna
4.
say 4. Yeah.
I think 4 actually, yeah, because PNZ is like also not really a region too. Yeah.
Oh, PNZ was the 5th one.
Really?
PNZ would be like the 8th one for me.
Really, I was
Yeah, me too.
I was thinking PNZ because discard is like kind of a deck.
Yeah, discard actually does hit the meta decently.
Yeah,
Like
but,
Ender's like kind of a deck, but
yeah,
it's not. I don't know. I think it's now that the way I see the meta is it's like War Mothers, like ramp stuff, Lee Sin, and then Bozwire Noxus, and
I mean Demacia is definitely a deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
with what like scouts are like okay, but not as good as
Wait,
definitely not as good as War Mothers.
wait, Fiora Shen? Hello?
I mean, I wouldn't put Fiora Shen on the same level as like Bilge
Yeah,
Nox.
it's not the same level as Bolshanox, I agree. It still like exists as a deck. Like name like an Ionia deck that isn't like Lee Sin Targon is not an Ionia deck. That's mono Targon slash like Lee. Actually.
Yeah.
Back on the main topic. I think that Soraka is really sick. I think that with the hush changes, Stargazer could potentially be like a cool cheesy combo kill. I think Soraka's Wish is basically impossible to see play in any deck.
Yuck.
Outside of like you just get it off of Soraka, and then like Astral Protection is maybe a card with like like an all-in champion deck. Like maybe you play it with like Fiora, maybe you play it with like Vi, maybe you play it with Tom Kench.
Mm-hmm.
I would think I have all these cards.
Yeah, well, all of it. You like Wish?
I mean, I'm just super excited for all the cards. I mean, Wish, like, I don't think Wish is that bad. I don't know if I would run it. I mean, it depends what kind of deck you're trying to make.
Really?
I mean, I guess big fan is more so I meant I like the cards. Like, I really like the Tom Kent Soraka synergies there with the damage units. Excited for the meta shaping up for sure, and I'm really excited that there's many different ways to build these cards instead of just like, you know, a preset stone thing. Like as I said earlier, we have Vladimir, we have Freylord, we have Targon with Tom Kench as well, but you can mix them all. It's like a mix and match between different regions and a lot of possibilities. I'm excited to see.
There's a lot of different stuff we can do, but I think
agree.
we're almost out of milk.
Yeah, I'm pretty milked out over here. I think it's honestly it's fun in these kind of like podcast type things to also just talk about, you know, the existing game and the balance. I don't think like you were saying like we were getting off topic, and I think it's perfectly fine to kind of like, you know, when we're done with the cards, talk a little bit about you know, how we feel about meta stuff and the next balance patch.
I agree with Swim. I have the same opinions as Swim. Buff Katarina, Vlad, buff Nightfall. Everything's Swim said already.
I mean, I agree with Nick. I think that Soraka should have had her level up text to be changed to like increase people's maximum life to like 30. I think that was. I mean, that was the best point Nick made today. I think.
I like Nick's suggestion of just like running Sap Magic in basically every deck ever. Like Sap Magic, it's my favorite part of Deep. I look at my screen right now and I just see like 20% of my screen is Sap Magic, and I can't wait to run it.
I had some hot takes that I didn't know about.
I mean, these are all really good takes that you're making. But guys, remember, Withering Whale and War Mothers decks. Those two decks, OP as heck. Play them, especially
just healing and ramp.
Ladder. Yeah. Play them on EU ladder mostly. I think you should play them on EU ladder around like 8 or 9 o'clock, like EST as well. Like, or what? Nick, what's your time zone? So yeah. It's I think that's around the time Nick's online. But yeah, play those two decks.
I don't remember saying all these. I remember saying these things.
No, I'm saying that. I think that you should play War Mothers. I think it's a really good deck to play during that time.
This is super off topic. I don't know how much of the milk just talking about random stuff, but what do you think about Voices of the Old Ones?
It's a very powerful card in a specific metagame.
Yeah, I think you could run it in a tournament lineup where you were like teched for Control Mirror. Like, you're banning aggro and you're teched for like the War Mother's Mirror. Apart from that, I think you're not running it.
Someone made a good point in chat. What do you think about Soraka's thighs? It's a really good point that they just made.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have an elephant in the room that we haven't talked about, and it's got a
Yeah,
lot
we
of
really
implications on
haven't.
the
I mean,
metagame.
this is like a big part of the card evaluation.
This is going to influence the meta like a lot. I don't know if it's going to be like, I'll let you take it away.
No. This is 90% of the card's evaluation, I think. Like, everything else is like kind of secondary, but this matters a lot more.
She thick.
Okay, good.
Nick, you heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
It's like I mean,
check
how?
it,
Well, we can't really go into like a how in depth are we evaluating this? Like, how do you go deeper than that?
We'd have to see her, I think, in the metagame. I don't really think we can like just look at like the art and really evaluate how thick she is.
Does she have like goat hooves?
This is
That's
like,
relevant,
is being into like Soraka like being like into Enchantress from like Dota?
It's not quite the same.
It's not quite the same.
Enchantress has like a full deer body. You're going full deer at that point. And
Soraka just thick. I mean, what more is there to say? Speaks for itself.
As long as you don't go down to the feet, you're totally fine. You can pretend you're completely normal.
Swim, when's your waifu tier list coming out?
Ignore it's a
real
good
question.
I don't know. I wanted to wait a little bit for some of the other champions to be in the game. Like we don't have Ari, we don't have Ilaoi, we don't have Evelyn. It's just like impossible, right? Like
wait, you don't even have Lilia yet. Like
yeah, exactly. Even Lilia, not even in the game.
Do you even know what Lilia is?
I've never heard of this champ before.
She is the Enchantress of League of Legends. They added her recently.
Oh.
If you're into Lilia, you're a freaking weirdo.
Come on, don't fucking kink shame me.
Yeah. Like, wasn't Lilia based off a LOR card, or is that just a rumor? The Neverglade character. I'm one with the land.
No,
that's
a completely different character.
That doesn't even.
It's not Lilia.
No.
I mean, yeah, it's like they made Senna. Senna was based off of Senna, right?
Yeah, true.
And it's kind of like that. It's like Green Glade Caretaker Lilia, right? It's like, of course.
Yeah, like Yone was definitely inspired by LOR. Like that's why Yone like is in League of Legends now, is because like they saw it in LOR and it's like, man, that's a really cool card that you made. We're gonna add that to Let's of League of Legends.
So Swim, I'm really excited for Tom Kench. I think it's shaping up to be the first deck I'm looking into. What is the first deck? Just on the cards we've seen that piques your interest. The new format.
I'll probably play Tom Kench and Soraka. Look, man, there's literally there's like 2 decks. Okay, there's gonna be 3. Nick, look at the fucking cards. There's like 1 or 2 decks you can build. You can build it in a lot of different ways. There's different micro decisions in those decks, but in terms of the archetypes, there's 2 new archetypes.
I had this idea where I'd put Targon and Village together. I thought no one else would think of it, but I guess it was a more popular idea.
Well, Nick said it first, so I'm net decking him, I guess.
All right, Nick, Swim. Let's rephrase it. What's the edgiest deck that you can build? What's like the I'm just. Wait, don't you want to do like the Braum all-in deck where like you just like win off of the like stone?
Braum all-in is pretty fun. That's gonna be what I'll build at the start. I do want to do elusive stuff with like Lounging Lizard, especially if they're nerfing Hush. I could try to make like an elusive, just kind of fuck your shit up deck. Yeah, those are my 2.
You're gonna have Targon
with elusives.
Yeah,
probably with Lounging Lizard.
That's hilarious. How even for elusives now, every archetype is builds Targon.
Yeah, exactly. Elusives is build Targon now. How did that happen? How is it just all comes back to build Targon?
Like what? It's so random. Like build Targon is the elusives.
I mean, they have the best elusives in the game right now. They have the 2-mana 2/3 elusive. They have the 3-mana 3/5 elusive. Like, what else do you want?
Have the Trickster.
It could be a Bilge Freljord. Bilge Freljord has a ton of potential. I think Freljord is actually a super low-key region. I not even low-key because like everyone already knows that it's like the 3rd best region in the game. But I think like my prediction is when the next balance patch is gonna hit, they're gonna nerf Targon and Bilgewater a bit, and Freljord is going to be on their level at least. I think Freljord is actually already being misbuilt.
Do you know what deck I'm gonna build when they nerf Hush?
What's that?
I'm gonna build the elusive Shadow combo deck.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but me too, brother.
I've been like waiting. I've been waiting for the Hush nerf, and when that nerf comes in, it's my time to strike.
Yeah, don't tell anyone. Don't tell Reddit. But the only reason I wanted Hush to get nerfed was so I could jam fist a fuck ton of elusive decks down ranked ladder's throat. That's the only reason.
It's working perfectly.
It's all according to plan.
So
you guys didn't know it, but we're coming back to a cancerous elusive meta.
You guys thought you were safe, but so what I was gonna say real quick is that they said they're gonna hotfix Bastion in 2 weeks, which makes me that hasn't happened yet, right? So that is that the only change happening, and then we get a balance patch 2 weeks into the new expansion. But when the new cards drop, all we get is the Bastion change, right?
I'm ready for a lot of these cards to be unplayable into Village Nox aggro. That's what I'm excited about.
Overrated.
Wait, do we want to talk about this? Nick thinks that Village Nox aggro is tier 2. What are your thoughts on that?
It's the most overrated deck ever, and I don't know why people are losing to it. I literally farm it every time.
Just the MF version and not like TFGP.
TFGP is fine, but let me say that MFGP isn't even really played on the EU ladder at all because I think they know it's not like that great. And then if I ever do play against it, it just gets destroyed.
All right, so this is the thing that he said on stream the other day. He said that NA ladder is worse than EU ladder because they still run MFGP aggro.
The thing is,
I said what I said.
The ladders are not worse or better than each other. I would call the ladders like two different civilizations, right? It's like you've got Athens and you've got Sparta. You know what I'm saying? Like, the thing is, it takes an NA brain to just jam fist and aggro and care about literally nothing than the one number on the left side. You don't even care about the other number on the left side. You just care about one of the numbers on the left side. And like, it's just, again, it's not like a ladder is better or worse than another, but the EUs are over here playing the sophisticated game of chess. They're playing these fucking, they're just passing it down decks. They're passing, yes, and they're very sophisticated. They're just like, let's make this play. Yes, this pass looks good. I'll see what he does first, and then I'll counter it. And then we've got over here on the NA ladder, we go Swark. We just jam, we fist it in. That's all we do.
Grenades flying everywhere, explosions.
Right.
And can NA be Sparta? Is NA Sparta? I'm down.
Yes. Yeah.
NA is Sparta, of course.
What did you think I was going with? Exactly. And it's just like, they're just different. They're just different civilizations, different cultures. You can't say one is better or worse than another just because like the meta is different, you know?
Honestly, if you play MFGP, you're being like a proud American, I think.
Right, exactly.
You should be proud of yourself.
I can't say I looked at this way previously, but now that I've seen it your way, I guess it does. It just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there's no logical reason why it would have to be the case that one ladder is better than another. It's just our brains just operate on a fundamentally different level. That's all.
I think it's all like the artificial like food and like stuff like that in NA. Just everything's dumbed down. Got to us growing up.
True.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, yeah. That's someone made a good point about this. Handless said this. You don't really find Nightfall aggro in NA. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the only Nightfall player. Well, not the only one, but literally, there's like, it's such a good deck. I promise you, Nightfall's a tier. Like, it's so good, but no one plays it. So whatever region I'm playing in, it's just the one that has the Nightfall range. By the
way, Nightfall mid range.
Mid range.
What deck is that?
I've only ever seen Nightfall aggro.
You're running like Star Shaping or what?
Yeah. No, I think he's running Mind Splitter.
I mean, the last I saw of your version, you were running Atrocity and not Star Shaping. Care to comment?
I actually haven't ran Atrocity for a few months, but
Oh,
I run a
That's true. Cygnus.
behold the Infinite. You know, I got
Oh,
some
damn.
mid-range cards. You know, yeah. See, oh
Wait,
yeah, there you go.
Behold the Infinite's not an aggro card.
We're getting a lot of good comments in here. Mad Wheel saying Nightfall is boring. Like this is a really good comment.
Okay, now you're just trying to hurt me. Now you're just trying to hurt me. Love Nightfall. All right, Nightfall's good. All right, you guys will learn one day. We'll look back and you'll say, you know, maybe Nightfall wasn't that bad. That's all I ask, is that maybe I can get someone to say, you know, this Nightfall thing, it's kind of cool. That's all I ask.
All right.
Cool. I'm gonna be playing a new deck anyway when the new cards come out. I want to try a new champion. It's gonna be Tom Soraka, or I mean, this is just random, but I'm really excited for the new format. I think that Riven could be awesome. Riven Yasuo. I think Shyvana, just Shyvana would be awesome. I think Victor appeals to me as well. Honestly, whatever champ they show for the final champ, it's going to be really fun for me, and I'm going to try and explore something new.
I agree.
I will say that the Soraka archetype should be incredibly good against any aggro deck. Like, really good. Just having like a 3-mana 1/6 that like buffs the like stat line of all of your units by 1,000,000, so that you just always have a blocker, and then you're getting value through them attacking you. It seems like a nightmare for
aggro. So did Chad said, Nightfall's great. I beat it on ladder all the time.
True.
That's funny. But no, yeah, I'm excited for a lot of cool stuff.
I might bring back the Broadback Protector meme.
Oh, that was a good name. Do you want to tell chat how it works if they haven't seen it?
All right, so what you do is you play Broadback Protector with Augur of the Old Ones, and then you put regen onto your Broadback Protector, and then what happens is that you just actually gain infinite life if they can't kill your Broadback Protector. I was playing against Swim on like a spider aggro deck, and I was at like 20 HP on like turn 6 or 7. Like I had like a 2/7 in play, and he just smashed his head into a wall. It's great.
Yeah. I'm trying to fucking climb to Masters, and I'm getting gate capped.
Encounter.
Just getting gate capped by Broadback Protector. It's great.
I'm gonna assume the answer is yes, maybe. But does overhealing count for the 22 plus win condition for Star Spring? Does it count every point of overheal?
We honestly don't know. I assume it doesn't count overhealing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I
highly doubt it counts overhealing.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a few interactions about like how the healing triggers work that we're not sure of. We'll have to see in action.
And it's confirmed that obviously regen, since it says heal in the keyword, counts, right?
Yes, it does work that way currently with how the Star Shepherd works with Braum. I heard, I didn't see, but I heard confirmation that they already interact like that, which seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like,
that's really wild.
Also, everyone, don't forget to follow twitch.tv/NickMakesPlays. It's the premier LOR player on ladder. You can be sure to have just a nice relaxing stream where he's playing Nightfall aggro and Heat.
Hear me out. If Nightfall is not good, then why did I go 17-3 with Nightfall one day on EU Master Ladder? Then the next day I went 16-0 with Nightfall on Master EU Ladder. Come on. It's not that bad. Come on.
There's no answer to that. Nightfall's nuts.
I think
the thing about Nightfall is you just have to be a big brain Nightfall main, you know?
Yeah, like you need to definitely be from NA because it's an aggro deck though. Like if you're not from NA, then like you just do not know how to play that deck.
And honestly, we do have a somewhat of a sample size that does confirm that. I mean, Nick, you are from NA yourself.
And like we've confirmed that NA is like the Sparta of LOR, right? It's where all the aggro
did agree to that.
Yeah. When I log in, it says I'm from Great Britain.
God.
Right, here's my plan. All right, so we get Star Springs. You Bayo Brunch like a bunch of stats on Tom Kench, right? And right before he dies, You use the Spring Guardian thing that for 1 fully heals an ally, and then you heal like 15 in like for 1 mana. Then you win via the springs.
That's nuts.
That sounds nuts.
Isn't that crazy? What could go wrong?
That is crazy.
It's incredibly broken. I love it. All right, I'm all out of milk personally.
I'm done. Yeah, this is all the milk I have.
My final statement is Soraka Tom Kench is going to be pretty hype.
My final statement
Plus.
is that Nightfall is an aggro deck, and Nick is an aggro player. And every deck that Nick plays, you should consider it to be aggro. Especially
I have you to thank, Nick, because when I was playing in the DOR Invitational, and I got 4th place because of your Nightfall deck. Actually, I think I queued into it twice and I farmed it every time.
Those were not my Nightfall decks. Those were I saw the list. I did not have any part in those.
They weren't even running. They weren't even running Behold the Infinite.
No, like come on, like what?
Marcus says same. Marcus didn't he get top 1 in that tournament? And we were both farming the same Nightfall players. There were like 3 players that brought Nightfall. I would not have made it that far. Marcus and I would not have made it in that tournament at all if there wasn't Nightfall.
They didn't watch my hour-long Nightfall YouTube guide.
Ooh, true.
They watched. I saw their list and I saw their plays.
Yeah, they clearly weren't making the same plays that you were. I mean, you're the person that plays.
Exactly.
Call me Nick makes plays. I mean,
and speaking of Nick
make plays.
And speaking of Nick makes plays in chat.
Oh, I appreciate it, President.
There we go. Yeah, there
thanks,
we go.
Guys. You didn't build that. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, no one. You can't expect someone else to take my Nightfall deck and make plays like that.
That's true.
But, anyways, Tom Kench, Soraka, excited for tomorrow. A lot of cool stuff. I'm really excited to make some new decks. But yeah, I had a lot of fun talking today. I think there's a lot of cool stuff to be excited about.
Yep, I agree. All right, guys. It was a nice little. I'm calling these podcasts. They're basically. I mean, we have no structure, and sometimes I just throw people in, but I can call them podcasts, right?
Sure.
What else would you call it?
Oh, that's it. That's the only thing I can think of. Nothing else.
All right. Later.
All right. GG's, guys. Whew, man, that was a lot of fun. And just for all of you guys who are currently jerking off to Soraka's thighs right now, which is, half of you, I bet. This is it. This is Soraka, right there. This is what you're not seeing. This is what's right off screen. Okay, this is Soraka. There she is. There. All right. just had to get that off my chest. Perfect. But yeah, we're all done. We're done milking Soraka. We yes, even better. God fucking damn it, guys. Step on me, crush me like a nut in a nutcracker. Give me some of that goat milk. What the fuck, guys? Dude, what have I done? My proudest fap TBH. Holy shit.